That's amazing. And you don't just raise money for multifamily, you also raise money for oil and gas as well, correct?
Yeah, and tech fund. So I have
Oh,
branched
okay.
out because the last 2 years, I haven't come across a lot of multifamily deals that had great cash flow. And my investors really wanted something better than 5% cash on cash. And multifamily, unfortunately, is very heavily dependent on the end when you sell the deal to get much of the upside. So it's a good long-term investment, but people wanted shorter term. So, debt funds were getting popular as more deals needed capital, et cetera. But oil and gas in particular is excellent for your tax benefits only because you don't have the recapture later. But it's also risky because in the next couple of years, Trump is going to increase oil supply, so your crude oil prices could go down. Today, it's great. The past year, it's been great. But people need to understand the risks and, I guess, rewards of every investment type. But yes, oil and gas and also tech fund for those who are into technology and believe in technology for the future.
Very cool. Yeah. So as you guys can see, Sandhya has a very diverse experience. And then what we're going to talk about today doesn't just apply for real estate, applies for any kind of capital raising that
Mhm.
you want to take on. So, all right, let's go into your slides.
All right, let's hope this works and I can actually show you something. But this is whether it's LinkedIn or Facebook. This is sort of my playbook. I may not be able to read all the chats, so I'm hoping either Tim or one of his, people in his company can help. Is this zoomed in
Yes.
too much? Is this a good way you can read this?
Yeah, we can read it.
Okay, so I'm picking LinkedIn because whatever you write on LinkedIn is also useful in Facebook. So depending on where you have already established yourself, you can use the same post in both platforms. LinkedIn in particular has 1 billion users and only about 2% of them are active. But our real estate investors, a lot of them are jumping in. So the benefit is that you get a lot of interaction and you get a lot of engagement that then sends your post to more people and you are not late to the game at all if only 2% of the people are still active. That means you still got plenty of time to get in there, get used to the platform, get useful, etc. But never forget, what is your goal? What are you trying to do in this platform? What is your goal with posting on LinkedIn? So type in the chat box. If you wanted to have one outcome from LinkedIn, what is that? So for me, that outcome is I want to capture a lead and get them to book a call with me if they are my ideal client. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah, right. So, what is the struggle? Most people don't have a strategy as to what they're going to post about. So they just wake up one morning, it's a weekday morning, it's 7 in the morning. Oh, I got to get a post out. And then they just try to type something. And there's not any strategy or focus behind that post. And it's hard when you're staring at a screen to come up with a post. People also focus on the wrong metrics, which is, oh, did I get enough likes? Oh, I didn't get any likes today. People don't like me. And they go down that rabbit hole, which is completely unnecessary. It is just you today versus you last week. Others don't really matter. It's about you improving your writing and getting consistent. And, I'm sure Tim can tell you a lot about AI and all his AI classes, and it definitely comes into play. Another thing is just being inconsistent. You feel like posting this week, you post a couple of times, and then for another 2 weeks, you're just absent. And that's going to hurt in any platform, right? LinkedIn or Facebook. If you're inconsistent, that's not going to help you because even your people, right? The people who normally respond to your posts will start going away because they're like, well, in 2 weeks, she hasn't posted, he hasn't posted. So you want to figure out how to be consistent and you don't want to sound like everyone else on Chat GPT. You also want to sound authentic, right? So if I talk to you and then you read my post, you kind of want both of those to match. So the first step is actually step zero. That means even before you start posting, think about what makes you unique. And this is the step that a lot of people skip. So, for those of you who know me, what are a couple of things you might say about me that stands out, right? That keeps me sort of, shall we say, different from the other, shall we say, 50 or 100 syndicators out there? That would be the question you have to answer. What makes you different from everybody else out there that you want to get across with your posts? don't skip this step. I'm serious. Like, spend a lot of time on this step because that's how you find your voice.
Yeah, and some of the things that might not be obvious for some of you, your ethnic background is one, your career, whatever your professional career is another one. There's a lot of different ways that can make you unique, and some people might not realize. You think that, oh, only what my specialty is what make you unique, but there's so much more to you, and the combination of all of what makes you who you are together makes you unique. So yeah.
So I'm going to share a Facebook post, and it's also, I've posted it on LinkedIn. But read this post, right? It's a
Hmm.
pretty unique post. Most people don't put it. Are you able to see it? I know what you're
No,
able to
it,
see.
it it went away. It was up, and then
Okay.
something happened. It went away.
Well, I will find it.
Okay. Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
didn't mean to interrupt you there with your slides, but I wanted to, give more things for people to think about.
Yeah, what can you see now? You can see my Facebook or you can see something
Y-
else.
we can see, hold on. We can see your email right now. You're about to click on
Okay.
okay, we can see, yeah, your Facebook right now. Okay.
I will find the post I was referring to. It's going to happen. It may take a little longer, but I will find it. The reason is that post was unique, and I wanted to show it to you as an example of how do you show your authentic self? Because it's very easy. Yeah, this one. It says wet.
Okay, yeah. Yep. Stinks.
So
Uh-huh.
this post says multifamily returns actually stink. Okay. So raise your hand if you're a passive investor delighted with your cash flow from multifamily. So I'm really talking to my passive investors, and they're all telling me the same thing. They're like, where is my cash flow? I'm not getting any cash flow from all my multifamily deals. And, what am I waiting on? Why are you still promoting multifamily as passive income for a lifestyle of sitting on the beach kind of thing? And here I am with, returns that just don't give me the numbers I was hoping for, right? Cash on cash is just not being returned on most of these multifamily deals. So when my investors read a post like that, I'm talking to them, I'm speaking their language.
Mm,
So, as an example, I'm known among my crowds to be very direct and very
yep.
authentic. And what you see is what you get. There's no surprises. I'm not faking it. I'm not fluffing stuff and pretending like there's no problems, etc. And that's the thing is you want to find your authentic voice. And then I'm going to try to find this next post. Let's see if I can do that. Okay, that's on LinkedIn. Why am I giving you these examples? I will find it. I will find it. Yes, you can see this. So this is a LinkedIn post, and it's a very specific dollar figure type of post. And what it talks about is what we call a mini model. So this is a mini model, and I talk about how I spent only 80 bucks, but I was able to quickly lease a couple of units. And this is my ROI, and you don't have to do fancy stuff. So it's a very tactical tip.
Mm,
Yes. So what's the difference between these two posts? And what's the purpose? So the purpose was to establish my authority in asset management with one of those posts, but also get the respect of my peers that, hey, I'm actually in the trenches doing the work. So it kind of helps the passive, but it also helps the GPs realize I can be useful to you too. So don't hate me. Take my tip and go put it to use in your property. And you can, get away with spending a little bit of money and getting a big return. So in that sense, decide what you're trying to do with these posts and what is your voice. So that's why I say don't skip step 0. Now we shall go back to sharing screen again so I can continue with this slide. Okay. So find your voice, don't skip the step because that's what's going to make. So the magic you are looking for is the work that you're avoiding. There's something on your to-do list that you've been avoiding, and that's focusing. Maybe it's 15 minutes to say what's top on my mind that's the most useful to my audience, and just writing it out. Don't worry about making it pretty, nothing. Just write it out, do a brain dump, and you'll come up with things. And if you're not sure how to do it, do the brain dump and then take it to Chat GPT and say make it better, make it formatted better, whatever you want. So That's step 0 is figuring out your authentic voice, writing 2 or 3 words that describe who you are, and making sure that is felt in all your posts. So for me, that's direct, that's useful, that's tactical tips, and that's establishing authority. And so usually you'll see these 3 things reflected in my posts. So a
Mm.
lot of people, the next thing is your landing page, right? It's your profile, it's your banner, it's like the sign on your store. Think of passive investors as physically walking this entire street and shopping. What does your storefront look like compared to everybody else on this call? So, what are some things you should be avoiding in that profile? So, don't focus on you. I'm the greatest. Here I am. I'm this founder. I'm the CEO. Nobody cares. And don't use jargon that people won't understand. Remember, a lot of these people are not into real estate. So make sure the terms you use, the things you write there are simple and easy to follow. Make it a very simple, clear, clutter-free design. And don't spend time emphasizing things that don't help them. It's got to be all about how am I useful to you? Come to my store, buy the exact product you need. It's going to solve this problem for you. So look at a profile and you should be able to immediately tell what they do, who they are helping, what is the goal of the profile, right? To attract your ideal client. So clear beats clever. Don't use very clever terms. So I have a couple of profile examples. How do I share the whole screen so I don't have to keep doing this, Tim? There must be some
You
way.
if Yeah, if you share desktop, you'll be able to do it instead of sharing
Okay.
do share desktop.
Share instead of screen.
Yeah, choose entire screen, not desktop.
Okay. Do you see this now?
Yep.
This
Uh-huh,
guy
yeah.
in LinkedIn called Dan Go. Yep.
Yep. Yep. Yep. Uh-huh.
Okay. Is it pretty clear what he wants you to do? All he wants you to do is join his mailing list. That's it. That's his only
Right.
goal. He's a body transformation guy. His profile is so clear, and there's only one thing he wants you to do: join his mailing list. And from all the useful content he's going to give you, you're going to be convinced and you're going to do whatever he wants you to do. So it's very, very clear, right? If I
Mm-hmm.
had 3 months and I wanted to drop whatever pounds, and this is what he talks about throughout the year, it's not just for January, right? And he talks about losing belly fat at 45, et cetera, et cetera. So I would even go look at a post like this and I would look at the format and I would say, okay, if I took this post, how would I modify it? Except I'm solving my client's problem, which is, hey, are you worried about the stock market? Are you stressed about your returns from other things? So passive income from my whatever asset is going to be your answer, right? So that's another way to look at very clear profiles like this one and go from there. Now I'm going to go back to there. And then hopefully you can see my Canva again versus, yeah, I had an example of a bad profile, but I will skip that. So content mistakes. Are we ready to move into content? Again,
Yep.
make sure your content is all about your client and how you're going to solve their pain points and their problems. Don't try to write 5 or 10 different things all in one post. Maybe you have a dozen ideas. Brainstorm and put it somewhere, but only focus your post on one main topic, one main takeaway, one point you have to make. And if you have a lot more to make, that's that many more posts for the future. Make sure the formatting is very easy to read. We just looked at Dan Go's post, it was so easy and nice to read. It always helps to have social proof, meaning, hey, I've got 3 full cycles. Look what I did to client 1 in this first deal. Look what I did with my second deal. And don't take my word for it. Here is proof, and you get somebody to give you a testimonial. Yeah, I invested in this deal and this is what I got. And the returns have been consistent and I got great investor, updates every month, etc. Right? So find a way to get social proof. If your passive investors are open to it, those are great things to add, and periodically add that social proof. Try to always have some useful tip somebody can walk away from, like my mini model example post. That's something anybody can find use from. Like a GP can find it useful, But an LP can look at it and say, she gets in the weeds. So she's actually doing the work. She's somebody I can trust who knows what's actually going on with the deal. So it serves both purposes. And then try not to sound like Chat GPT. So how do you personalize it, right? And I know you have a lot of AI experts like Tim who can tell you how to make it more sound just like you. But ask Chat GPT generate something for you. In between, try to add your personal examples. And that's one of the easiest ways to avoid sounding like Chat GPT. So think about, what are you writing about? How is it useful? Who is it for? And does it feel authentic? So if I speak to you and then I read your post, do both sound the same? And who is your ideal client? So this is worth thinking about. So if you say ideal client, it's very tempting to say, hey, anybody with money, I'll take their money. Yeah, I agree. Anybody with money, you'd want to take their money. But beyond that, who is it? Who are you speaking with? So when you write these posts, if you think about it as, let's say Tim is my ideal client. Let's say that his background is in technology. He's a busy professional. He's got a full-time W-2 job. He's a director of engineering at a company. That's an example of one of my ICPs. So if I'm writing to Tim, my post is about helping Tim. I would write about what is their pain point, which is, oh, you are in a W-2 and you're not sure if you have any time at all to look at investments, and you're worried that you have too much company stock and everything heavily weighted on the stock market. Well, here's a way to invest in
Mm.
alternate assets. And you know what? You already have the money. Maybe it's from your prior W-2 with a self-directed IRA, or maybe you just take a portion of it and don't put everything into a 401k, etc. But here's how you can diversify from the risk of the stock market. Or you can talk about layoffs. Are you prepared when there's a layoff? And you can give, financial planning tips and things like that. So make sure you dig deep into who's your client. And here's a tip. As you write that post, almost write it as if you're writing a letter to them. Dear Tim, and then write the whole post and then say, hey, regards, Sandhya. And that way it feels very personal. It's like you're talking to them and then the post comes out. So that's something, again, Chat GPT can help you with, but insert personal things throughout so that it sounds less like a bot, so that you differentiate from the 50 other people, who are also trying to raise capital on LinkedIn.